Published 21:20 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 19th of July 2018. Updated 21:30 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 19th of July 2018. Mamma Mia! Here We Go Again PG verdict, take a chance on it rating. Here We Go Again is the perfect title for this keenly awaited sequel to Mamma Mia, the 2008 hit inspired by the music of Abba. Not only does it neatly adapt one of the Swedish supergroup's most familiar lyrics, it also sums up both ways of anticipating the new movie. There are millions who adored the first film now crying Here We Go Again as an expression of breathless excitement, as they skip merrily to the nearest multiplex. Alexa Davies, Lily James, and Jessica Keenan win in Mamma Mia! Here We Go Again, but the same words can also be muttered in a spirit of eye-rolling cynicism by those who thought the original shallow and silly and regard the sequel as little more than a license to print money, money, money. Well, let the cynics stand down. With the delightful Lily James and the indomitable Cher joining those super troopers Meryl Streep, Julie Walters, Colin Firth and Pierce Brosnan, Mamma Mia 2, as I think we can call it, is an absolute blast and just the injection of joyful exuberance we need right now. Admittedly, Brosnan still hasn't learned how to carry a tune. Not very far, anyway. And the plot is still less meaty than a vegetarian moussaka and almost as pointless, but I was at the world premiere in London on Monday evening, and can report that the crowd wore a huge collective grin from start to finish. Even without the infectious exhilaration of a premiere, it is bound to play to happy audiences. One of them will contain my good friend Avril, who still considers the original the best film she has ever seen. The cast of the original Mamma Mia, led by Amanda Seyfried, pictured center stood and applauded at the end, which was quite a statement at Ludlow Assembly Rooms, an auditorium not known for spontaneous displays of wild jubilation. I'm certain she will be no less enthusiastic this time. The story begins a few years after the events chronicled in the first film, still on the Greek island of Kalakariri, in reality, the Croatian island of Vis, where Sophie Amanda Seyfried and her husband Sky Dominic Cooper have hit a rocky patch. She wants to devote her life to the hotel she is opening in honor of her mother, Donna Meryl Streep. He is in New York on business and keen to live there. But never mind that, this is not a film to dwell on marital disharmony. Nor does it linger for any longer than it has to on a recent family demise. After all, the Grim Reaper has no place in the sun-kissed, love-addled world of Mamma Mia, except as a reluctant plot device. Soon, we are whisked back to 1979, with James, beguilingly and with a lovely singing voice, playing the youthful version of Donna. I wasn't sure about the big opening number, the lesser-known ABBA song When I Kiss the Teacher, erupting at an Oxford graduation ceremony like a cow out of a matchbox, so implausible and unconvincing does it seem even by Mamma Mia standards. However, the film soon finds its gloriously jaunty rhythm and, even if you've spent the past 10 years not giving a Greek fig why exactly Sophie wasn't sure of her paternity, a toss-up between Sam Brosnan, Harry Firth and Bill Stellan Skarsgård, or, indeed, how Donna ended up on a Greek island in the first place and formed the Dynamo singing group with her two best friends, you might be surprised by how pleasurable it is finding out. The action keeps skipping back and forth in time, between Sophie's plans for a lavish opening night party, attended, of course, by former Dynamos Rosie and Tanya Julie Walters and Christine Baranski, respectively, and events a generation earlier. Alexa Davies, in particular, is marvelously funny as the younger incarnation of Rosie. In fact, all the younger versions are notably well cast. Jessica Keenan Wynn is a great match for Baranski, and Jeremy Irvin, Hugh Skinner and Josh Dillon do solid work as Sam, Harry and Bill in their flat-tummied days. Andy Garcia has a ball, too, as the twinkly hotel manager. He is in the midst of a career moment, have also just played an aging dish in a disappointing book club. Best of all, Cher blows in like a tempest as the grandmother Sophie barely knows. In the annals of great musical numbers, Cher in a Joan Rivers wig belting out a famous ABBA song might not be quite up there with Gene Kelly singing In the Rain, but it's hard to suppress a cheer when she spots Garcia's silver fox and cries out his name, which is, of course, Fernando. As with the first film and the successful stage musical that spawned it, it's not quite right to say that the songs in Mamma Mia 2 service the flimsiest of narratives. It's the other way round, the flimsy narrative is there to service the songs. But that hasn't stopped British writer-director Ol Parker from crafting something utterly charming here, a triumph of pure, undemanding escapism. Perhaps executive producer Richard Curtis also sprinkled some of his own magic fairy dust on the production. Or maybe Tom Hanks, also an executive producer, wafted his famous bonhomie over it. Whatever, there is a great deal to enjoy in a burning question. My, how can you resist it? Spitfire PG verdict, soaring documentary rating. It is very difficult, and I confess that I failed to watch this terrific documentary about the iconic World War II fighter aircraft without shedding a tear. The surviving Spitfire pilots are in the 90s now, the few are becoming ever fewer, and it's deeply moving to see pictures of them fresh-faced in uniform while listening to their remarkable reminiscences. Directors David Fairhead and Ant Palmer make only one misjudgment, which is to allow Charles Dance to narrate a film at an almost comic level of sonorous gravity. It is very difficult, and I confess that I failed to watch this terrific documentary about the iconic World War II fighter aircraft without shedding a tear. Otherwise, it's utterly marvelous to hear these grand old men and women, such as Joan Fanshawe, one of the so-called group plotters who pored over huge maps working out where the squadrons needed to be deployed, telling their wartime stories. Among them is 96-year-old Jeffrey Wellham, whose 2002 memoir First Light made him an unlikely literary sensation. He describes the importance of never flying level and in a straight line for more than 10 seconds, to make yourself harder to hit. Being shot down didn't appeal to me, he says, cheery. The film has been made to coincide with the 100th anniversary of the founding of the RAF, and its star is the Spitfire itself, which made its inaugural test flight in March 1936. Just 2 days later, Hitler's troops marched into the Rhineland, setting Nazi Germany on a collision course with the rest of Europe. By the outbreak of war, the Luftwaffe had 4 times as many aircraft as the RAF, but the Spitfire was quicker and more versatile than anything the Germans could muster, thanks to its brilliant designer R.J. Mitchell. He was immortalized by Leslie Howard in the 1942 film The First of the Few, yet he had of cancer, aged only 42, by the time his creation helped so spectacularly to win the Battle of Britain. Stirring archive footage backs up the testimonies of those who were there, and there are some fantastic aerial shots of Spit now. Of those that actually took part in the Battle of Britain, only one is still airworthy. It lives at RAF Coningsby in Lincolnshire, where squadron leader Andy Millikan describes it as the most precious flying machine on the planet, apart from possibly the Apollo 11 command capsule. That doesn't seem at all excessive to me, and want to anyone who sees this film, as everyone should. Hotel Artemis 15 verdict, rooms for improvement rating. In case you haven't seen enough films set in a dystopian Los Angeles a few years in the future, here is Hotel Artemis, unfolding in a riot-racked LA in 2028. There, a little old nurse, Jodie Foster, no less, runs a secret hospital for criminals who, presumably, can't get health care anywhere else. The film has plenty of good things, not least Foster, who rarely acts these days, and a charismatic performance by Jeff Goldblum as a local Mr. Big. Sophia Boutella is an arresting French assassin, too, but the film, a debut for British writer-director Drew Pearce, is less than the sum of its parts. Ultimately, it's another nightmarish vision of LA movie, over-reliant on gruesome violence for its own sake. Interview by Gabrielle Donnelly Cher in Mamma Mia. Here we go again. Could only be Cher, strutting into Hollywood's fashionable London hotel 20 minutes after the appointed time. The late Cher, she murmurs, deadpan, her slight figure clad in layers of embroidered black reminiscent of her Gypsies, Tramps and Thieves pop music heyday in the 70s, her face framed by a riot of jet black ringlets. Not only has she won a Grammy, an Emmy, 3 Golden Globes and an Oscar, SHES the only artist to date to have had a #1 single in every decade since the 1960s. Now 72, SHES about to be seen on the movie screen again, playing the grandmother from hell in Mamma Mia. Here we go again. So, why is she still at it? I don't know, she says in that famous throaty rasp. I should be dead. I keep thinking, I'm too old to do this. Why am I working so much, or rather, why do people want me to work so much? But I've always worked easily and I've always had a quick recovery time between projects. I didn't even know I was 40 until I was 60. I usually pick too many projects at one time and I end up doing the thing that sounds like the most fun. I've got myself into a lot of trouble saying, oh, that sounds like fun, then when I get to do the thing, I'm terrified. But that's the way I've always done it. In the Mamma Mia sequel, she plays Ruby Sheridan, the mother of Meryl Streep's Donna, despite being only 3 years older than Meryl, who turns up out of the blue to see her estranged granddaughter, Sophie Amanda Seyfried. Cher has expressed her regret about not being able to be part of the first film, particularly because of the opportunity to reunite with old buddy and Silkwood co-star Meryl, because of a scheduling conflict. When she turned up on the set of the gang's second outing, then, she says she was more than a little daunted. I was really nervous. Everybody else was calm because they'd worked with each other before. I didn't know any of them except Meryl. I'd met Pierce Brosnan, but I didn't really know him. I really was the new girl. To make matters worse, she and writer-director Ol Parker, known for The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel in 2011, had locked horns before filming even began. It'd been kind of mean to him before I even met him. When they showed me the script, I didn't like my dialogue and I didn't see how I was going to be able to play the woman that had been written, so I said to him, look, you don't know how to be this woman, I know her, so you need to let me write some stuff. So we didn't get off to a great start and I walked onto the set feeling really frightened. As it turned out, she needn't have worried. Everybody was just so kind. They were all like, are you okay, are you comfortable, are you having a good time? I wasn't expecting that because they all knew each other well and I didn't expect them to treat me the way they were treating each other, but I have to say, it was the easiest set I ever worked on. I loved the film because there's comedy and drama as well as music, and it turned out that Ol was one of the best directors I've worked with. At one point, I was having a hard time with this one piece of dialogue. It was a silly little thing I had to say in Spanish and I went over it again and again and I couldn't get it. I knew I was taking up everyone's time and that made me more nervous, so I went to Ol and said, I don't know what's the matter, I can do this when the camera's not running, but the minute it's running, I can't do it. So he held out his hand, it was rock steady, and said, do you see that hand? Does that look like I'm nervous? I said, no. He said, then take as long as you need till you get it right. It was like that all the way through. No tension, however hard a time you were having. One of the best things about the shoot for Cher was the chance to hang out with Meryl, with whom she's been close friends for more than 30 years. We've always kept in touch, we talk and email and stuff all the time, and she did a funny thing on this movie. I was on set singing my big song Fernando. Her love interest in the film is a character called Fernando, played by Andy Garcia, and I saw this shadowy figure lurking, but I didn't take too much notice because I was singing. But it was Meryl. She'd sneaked onto the set to watch me sing, and, afterwards, she just ran up to me squealing. Meryl squeals, did you know that? And we were laughing and hugging each other. Cher adds, my assistant said she'd been there the whole time, around the corner where I couldn't see her, because she wanted me to concentrate on the song. It's another notch in an extraordinary career, but I wonder if she has any regrets. She rolls her eyes. We don't have enough time to go there, she says. Yet, of course I do. But then, I think failure is highly underrated, because when you're having success, you never think, oh my god, why am I having this? But when you have failures, you think about them. You ruminate, you want to explore. And I think that makes you better. Mamma Mia. Here We Go Again is in cinemas from today.